Hello, everybody. I'm going to be recording this slideshow for those of you who weren't able to make it. The first slide is going to kind of talk about, we're going to show what we're going to talk about. So we're doing different teaching strategies for second grade, and this is more diversity and classroom management behavior. So there are 20 kids in the class, but I have randomly selected 3 that we're going to kind of focus on a little bit when doing this presentation. And so student A identifies as male, Caucasian, in a wheelchair with limited movement from below the shoulders, and the mother tends to hover over the student. Student B identifies as female, family is located in the U.S., temporarily for father's job, Japanese citizen, and student C identifies as female, African American, the family has lived in the community for several generations, and lives with 2 parents. For diversity teaching strategies, I came up with 10 items to think about, and I'm going to kind of briefly go over these, and then we're going to talk about how to incorporate them in the classroom. So, cultivate an inclusive classroom environment. So, we're going to encourage students to celebrate and share their cultural backgrounds and foster a classroom community that embraces diversity. We want to ensure that all students feel respected and valued. We're going to incorporate diverse perspectives and lesson plans, use a variety of materials and rescue and resources that reflect diverse cultural perspectives and experiences, including books, music, and artwork. Number 3, use cooperative learning activities. Encourage students to work in groups with peers from different backgrounds to promote socialization and cooperation. Celebrate cultural holidays and events. Recognize and celebrate important cultural holidays and events throughout the school year to increase students' awareness and appreciation of diverse cultures. Incorporate visual aids and hands-on activities. Use visual aids and hands-on activities to engage students with different learning styles and abilities. Encourage critical thinking. Encourage students to think critically about cultural stereotypes and biases, and challenge them when appropriate. Incorporate diverse role models, and introduce students to diverse role models from different cultures and backgrounds. Address cultural conflicts. Be prepared to address cultural conflicts that may arise in the classroom, such as language barriers, stereotypes, or misunderstandings. We're going to encourage empathy and understanding. So foster empathy and understanding among students by encouraging them to put themselves in others' shoes and consider how it feels to be different. The diversity of your students' backgrounds by incorporating holidays, customs, and traditions from different cultures into your curriculum. Use inclusive language that reflects and respects the diversity of your students, such as using gender-neutral terms like they, them, and avoiding stereotypes. Use diverse materials. Incorporate diverse materials into your classroom, including books, music, artwork, etc., that reflect the experiences and perspectives of different cultures and ethnicities. We can create a multicultural library corner with books that represent different or diverse perspectives, cultures, and experiences. So, like books on different holidays around the world, or just different experience, like some countries experience different things, and just stuff like that. Try to get the kids more engaged in around the world learning instead of just learning about what's going on in our country. Encourage family involvement. Families love to share culture and experiences with the classes, as long as we are inviting them to participate in classroom activities or events. Teach about prejudice and discrimination. Teach the students about that, and including how to recognize and respond to stereotypes and biases. Use real-world examples in current events to teach about diversity and multiculturalism. So this would be including history of different cultures and the contributions of diverse individuals to society. There's so many that have made contributions just to our country, but we should also focus on other countries as well. And then fostering empathy, we already kind of covered that actually in the last slide. We just need to encourage students to put themselves in somebody else's shoes and consider their feelings and experiences, just to make sure that, because not everybody's life is the same, And that's kind of how we need to. Yeah, I'm getting off topic. Anyway, so these are the classroom behavior management strategies, 10 items to think about when teaching. I'm going to kind of do the same thing I did with the other strategy list. So we need to establish clear expectations, develop clear and concise expectations for behavior, communication, and academic performance. Use positive reinforcements, reward students by participating in participating in class, having positive behaviors, completing assignments, showing respect to others, etc. Provide students with frequent feedback on their progress and encourage them to reflect on their own learning. Use consistent consequences, establish consistent consequences for misbehavior and ensure that they are fair and appropriate. Set up a structured routine, establish a structured daily routine that includes time for instruction, independent work, and group activities. That is really important. Use visual aids, not only to help the students understand and remember classroom rules and procedures, but also just for lessons as well. We need to foster a sense of community in the classroom by encouraging students to work together and help each other out. Once again, we need to communicate with parents as long as we maintain an open communication with parents to ensure that they are aware of their child's progress and any concerns going on. Adapt instruction to individual needs. Adapt instruction to meet the individual needs of each student, including those with physical disabilities or language barriers. Some students are more hands-on learners, some are visual, some are auditory. We just need to kind of make sure we're adapting to all of those. And this next one is going to kind of talk about students A, B, and C. So we need to provide support for the student in the wheelchair and their mother. So to do that, we're going to work with the student's mother to develop a plan for providing support and accommodations for the student's limited mobility. Consider seating arrangements, access to materials, and assistance with assignments, just to kind of ease her mind a little bit, so hopefully she's not hovering as much. I lost my spot. For the student who identifies as a Japanese citizen, provide additional support for language acquisition and cultural adjustment. For the student who identifies as African American or just other races and ethnicities, create opportunities for discussion on race, culture, and identity, and ensure that their experiences and perspectives are valued and respected inside the classroom. Now we're going to move on to how to incorporate these into the classroom. Number 1, so for clear expectations, we're going to post classroom rules and expectations in a visible location and review them regularly. Use positive language and encourage students to take ownership of their behavior. I feel like as long as we go over the classroom rules and expectations, at least within the first 2 months, like every day, it should get engraved into the students' brains. And it should leave room for more questions about the assignment and not so much about the rules and expectations. Use positive reinforcement. So this could be verbal praise, stickers, or a classroom reward system to recognize and reinforce positive behavior. We also need to be specific about what behaviors we are recognizing. We'll get to that in a little bit. Provide frequent feedback. Give specific, timely feedback to students on their academic performance and behavior. Use conferences and self-reflection exercises to encourage students to think about their own progress. So quarterly, when we will do parent-teacher conferences, and I think that we should also have the students fill out this little form that says what they think they're doing well on, what they think they need improvement on, and then the next time, and sit down with the student and go over it, and then the next time that we do this, see if they still feel the same way, or what they've done to improve. So we're going to also use consistent consequences. We need to develop a consistent system of consequences for misbehavior and communicate it clearly to students and parents, and make sure the consequences are appropriate and fair for every student. So one thing we're going to do is list the classroom rules, expectations, positive reinforcement, and the consequences all on one sheet. The parent or the students are going to take it home, or we can give it to the parents on back to school night. And then they need to read over it with their child, and they're both going to sign it, kind of like a little contract, just saying that they both understand the rules, expectations for the classroom, so there's no miscommunication in the future. We're going to set up a structured routine and really try to stick to it. So this is going to include times for whole group instruction, small group work, and independent work. We're going to use visual aids, like I mentioned before, pictures, posters, charts for helping remember classroom rules and routines, but also for lesson planning as well. Not planning, just lessons, like giving them their own copy so they can read along, or at least putting it up on the board. To foster a sense of community, encourage collaboration and cooperation among students by using group work, and encouraging students to help each other. Celebrate differences and encourage students to share their own experiences and cultures. Communicate with parents. Use newsletters, emails, and parent-teacher conferences to keep parents informed about their child's progress and behavior. Create opportunities for parents to get involved in classroom activities. And then lastly, adapt instruction to individual needs. Use differentiated instruction to meet the needs of all students, including those with physical disabilities, language barriers, and use assistive technology to provide support for students who need it. Lastly, I just came up with a few little lesson plan ideas to incorporate diversity in the classroom. So I think I'm going to kind of mostly talk about lesson 1 and lesson 3. So lesson 1 is going to be about celebrating cultural holidays and events. So for this one, I drew up celebrating the cultural holiday of Diwali, a Hindu festival of lights. We're going to introduce it by read aloud of a children's book called Lights for Gita. Discuss the customs and traditions associated with the holiday, including the lighting of the diya, which are oil lamps, the exchange of sweets, and the significance of the holiday for Hindus. Engage students in hands-on activity, creating their own diya out of clay and decorating it with colorful paints. And then encourage students to share their own cultural holiday traditions and celebrate the diversity in the classroom. For lesson 3, it talks about exploring cultural perspectives and literature. So students will read aloud and compare folk tales from different cultures. One that I want to focus on is the Three Little Pigs, which originated in England. There's also the Three Little Javelinas from southwestern United States, and the Three Little Wolves and the Big Bad Pig from France. So I kind of want the students to read the stories out loud, discuss the cultural, or we're going to read the stories out loud, discuss the cultural perspectives represented in each story, and then break them into small groups and have them contrast the similarities and differences in the stories along with the character settings and themes. And then we're going to encourage them to share their own perspectives and what they kind of thought about the assignment. That is all that we went over. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out for me and talk to you later.